Oh, no, we are live now.
We are.
Good evening, people of the world. And we really mean that when we say people of the world because we got audiences everywhere, which is really nice. How are you guys? Welcome to Monday. It's time for We Are Watching. Phil and Pete here. Pete, did you have a good weekend?
I had a great weekend, actually. I managed to get the best of both worlds. Saturday, went out, saw some live music, met some people,
Oh,
had some drinks. And then Sunday, I laid in bed like a lazy bastard and watched some of the movies we will be talking about tonight. So,
I saw
yeah, I
you
got it.
posted. I saw that you posted that you saw look like a Slayer cover band.
Yeah. They were pretty good. Not a lot of people actually, because as you're aware, since our fair city reopened in the beginning of October, there has been a slight increase in COVID cases, but things are still open, things are still happening. Just, yeah, some people are, for some strange reason, reluctant to go out, but there are people out there doing shit, so that's good.
Yes, people are taking it slow. Give me just 1 second. Be right back. Um, the Speaking of going out, our band got called back to play at the bar that we played at last time, so we shall be there playing some more bluesy soul music, which is more my. Although I love rock and roll, but I got to rehearse a little bit more for rock and roll. The songs we got more rehearsed and in the bag are more soul blues, so it should be a better performance. So if anybody's listening that's out there in São Paulo, come out and watch. Or look at that, I put my little Instagram right there, Phil Ray Music. You can check out our shit. But we're here to talk about movies, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. We got a viewer, so say hello if you're there. Say hi and tell us what you've been watching. Because there's a lot of stuff coming out lately. I think finally Hollywood got the message that, hey, we just got to release this shit on VOD and that it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we're finally getting some movies. Wonder Woman is eventually going to come out, which I'm really pumped for. So, anyway, so tonight, guys, we'll be talking Fat Man, which just came out, Mel Gibson piece. And then Pete's
Yep.
going to go with Revenge. Pete, you're on a feminist run here.
How
Revenge.
so? Oh yeah, Revenge. Yeah, actually, that's true. They are both very feminist movies, but
Yeah,
at
look
the
at
same
you.
time, they're falsely perceived as exploitation films. I
Yes.
in the case of Faster Pussycat, I don't know that it's that false, but there is a feminist aspect to it, which I will get to.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because I got to watch just about 10 or 15 minutes of it and I'm loving it so far, but I got a real feminist vibe from it. And last but not least, Jiu Jitsu, which is neither feminist nor anything worth talking too long about, which is why I kept it for last. But I will give you a few words on Jiu Jitsu because I did sit through it, or like 80% of it. Anyway, quick picks, guys. I just want to um, give a shout out to more Mandalorian. Like, I'm really impressed with how good this show is, how fun it is. And I made a
Hmm.
post in the Talking Films group. I was half joking, but I was just like, man, I don't need any more of these Disney, whatever the fucks that they put out as far as those feature length movies. Give me more of this, like TV, like Star Wars for TV. Like, I would have never imagined Star Wars would work so well on TV. But
Yeah,
Mandalorian had just proved that this universe can work outside of the main Skywalker storyline or Palpatine storyline, really. Um, it can work and it's fun and it's exciting and I'm pumped for it. So if anybody's not watching The Mandalorian, do it. It's a whole lot of fun and
yeah,
it'll wash away any of those bad feelings you have from any of the Star Wars movies that came out in the last 5, 6 years.
and they brought back the season one cast, which I really loved in the last episode.
Yes.
Directed by Carl Weathers, no less. That guy's fucking awesome.
Nice. I mean, I knew he was gonna direct an episode. I didn't know it was that one, but I did tell you that your girl, because you posted it on your Facebook page. I said your girl's gonna show up, not this week, but possibly the next.
Yeah, no, gotta wait a little longer.
Yeah,
That's
because I
okay.
for
As Tim Curry says, anticipation.
yes, and I dug that they brought back our dude, the black dude. What's his name? The bad guy. You
Moff
know all the names.
Gideon.
Yes,
Moff
and he's got the
Gideon.
whole Darth Vader thing going on, which
Yes,
looked
yes.
awesome.
And he's trying to build an army of baby Yodas, which is a pretty
Yeah,
insidious plan.
yeah, exactly. He's been in an army of Baby Yodas, but it looked like he had an army of Darth Vaders in that last scene. Oh, spoilers, by the way. Eesh, sorry, but okay, spoilers. He had like it looked like inside his little ship, he had like an army of like little Darth Vader suits. I'm like, what the hell is he going on about? But I could ride with that. Yo, I could ride with that more than Kylo Ren being like Vader fanboy. Like, imagine if someone actually said, yo, let's strike some fear back into these people, but actually wearing a Vader suit and just walking around and making people go like, yo, what the fuck is going on? If that's where they're going with it, that would be fucking awesome. I could ride with it. I could ride with it. 100%. And he's the perfect guy for it. And you got anything? Any quick picks? Anything you want to mention?
Yeah. Watching Faster Pussycat last night was actually just like a totally last minute decision. I was actually going to talk about this movie called Nocturne that I saw in the middle of the week because a student canceled an evening class. Suddenly I had the evening free. So it's like, fuck, grab a movie and kick back. And this movie, Nocturne, was actually pretty good. Kind of reminded me a bit of Amadeus if it had been set in a 21st century prep school with elements of Satanism. It's basically about twin sisters. They're both musical prodigies, but one is much better than the other. And the good one, she doesn't work at it at all. She's lazy. She has a boyfriend. She drinks. She parties, and her sister's like devoted to it, and she's just not as good. And there's a lot of layers to this movie that I could talk about for forever, but I'm giving you the short version.
Hmm.
Basically, the less talented sister finds a book that used to belong to a prodigy who also went to the same school but killed herself.
Oh no.
And the book contains music, but it also contains like a lot of creepy ass occult shit. And she starts using it and she gets better, like better than her sister to the point where she's eclipsing her. But of course, it's all satanic and shit, and it has a really negative impact on both their lives. So it's really cool. It's about 95 minutes. I believe it's a Blumhouse film.
Hmm.
So they're pretty reliable when it comes to
Yeah, they're pretty
horror.
reliable. Yeah, yeah. They're kind of
Yeah,
like the leaders of the new wave of horror in a way. Kind of
exactly.
leading the
So
charge.
yeah, it's a pretty cerebral movie. If I hadn't said this already, yeah, it reminded me of Amadeus, like the jealousness of jealousy. Fuck, jealousness isn't a word. Jealousy of talent, and the lengths that you will go to succeed when you're really passionate about something, and other people are just naturally better than you despite the fact that you work harder at it.
Yeah, that's a good theme. That's kind of the same theme in Fences. The dad kind of felt this jealousy over his son because his son could do stuff that he
Yes,
just couldn't. So I
yes,
like
and that J.K. Simmons movie as well.
which one? The
Oh,
the one with the
I
drummer
forget.
boy?
He won an Oscar for it, I think.
Whiplash.
Whiplash, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes. Wasn't my favorite movie, but definitely a good movie. Well, he deserved his Oscar though, because he killed it. He killed it. But anyway, let's get to it, y'all. Let's get to it with the Fat Man, or actually just Fat Man. And hopefully we'll be joined tonight by our buddy Justin. We're not sure if he's going to be able to make it on or not, but we may get a surprise visit by Justin, who is the administrator, creator, all around awesome dude who runs Talking Films on Facebook. So if you ever want to just chat with us on a daily basis, me, Pete, and everybody else, we're mostly in Talking Films. I'm in a bunch of film groups, but Talking Films is the one that I'm most active in. So check us out over there. So you saw this one too, right, Pete? You saw Fat Man?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
watched it on
good. So,
Saturday.
so, I kind of already know your feelings on it. I think we're kind of in agreement because I watched it and it's supposed to be like a black comedy slash action thriller, kind of like those holiday movies with a dark side to it. But it just didn't do it for me. Like I didn't laugh once. I wasn't
No,
invested.
that's me neither. I did not laugh at all. I laughed when I read the concept of the movie. When I read
Yes,
the
I did
concept
too.
of the movie, Mel Gibson playing Santa Claus, working for the military, being hunted by a hitman, he's a bit of a gun nut. I thought, fuck, man, that sounds like a riot. And it
Exactly.
played so straight.
They played it extremely straight, but without I don't know because it's a fine line. Obviously, I think dark black comedy is one of the hardest I think to do because it's such a fine line between going from making it seriously, like everybody's invested in this, and we playing it straight with with a dark shade to it, and then actually doing stuff that makes you laugh. Like so. I was thinking about it this weekend. I was thinking of like how Parasite managed to do it perfectly. It's like
Yeah,
it's a social commentary. It's a drama. I mean, you're completely invested in these characters. You feel sad for them, when they're going through their shit. But it's a dark comedy at the same time. It's a black comedy. It's played for laughs, even when the dad is chopping everybody up at the end. So it's very difficult to do, and I just don't think they accomplished it in this movie. It felt like there were so many elements in the movie. It didn't feel like it knew what it wanted to be, especially the beginning. I kind of already got thrown off because of the little kid. So quick synopsis here, guys, in case you don't know. Very simple story. There's this kid that's kind of like Richie Rich, but on cocaine or something, like just this real fucked up version of Richie Rich, rich boy, and he needs to have everything be like, he needs to win first place at the science fair. He needs to have everything go his way, and he gets called for Christmas. So then he hires a hitman, and the hitman is played by Walter Coggins, which is great and everything. But that's one thing I can't fault about the movie. The cast was awesome.
yeah,
Um,
he was amazing. He made the movie. His
yes,
character was great.
but at the same time, I was wondering, like, why do I care about this character? Because it was kind of weird for me. Like, was the kid the main antagonist, or was he the main antagonist? Because he calls him up, but then you find out that Walter himself has this whole backstory of,
He's got a grudge against Santa.
yeah, he's got a grudge
Yeah,
against Santa. So I'm like,
he gives
why
a job for
wouldn't
free.
Yeah, and I'm saying, but at the same, I'm asking myself, then why wouldn't he have taken care of that himself? He's like a hitman. Like, what does this kid have to do with the story? Like, I think if they had taken the kids out and just kept it as just the hitman going after Santa, just Walter Coggins just carrying the whole movie without this little kid, was really annoying. I think
Yeah,
maybe that would have given it like that gel because it felt like the movie was in like three, four different places at once, and it couldn't focus on what its main message was because it's trying to be a social commentary on the commercialization of Christmas. Because that's why Mel Gibson is all kind of like, he's out of it. He's not feeling the Santa vibe anymore.
yeah.
And then you got Coggins' character, who he plays, by the way, this guy named Jonathan Miller, who has got the grudge, but then you're like, yeah, but why would I mean he's got all the skill sets. Why wouldn't he have just gone up there and killed the man himself earlier? And then you have the whole military aspect, which was like it didn't really amount to anything because then when Coggins does go up there, and it's not that much of a spoiler because it's in the trailer. I mean, he kind of easily takes care of the military. So it was like you said. When I saw the premise, when I saw the trailer, I'm like, wow, this looks like it'll be a really funny movie, and not just for the action stuff. Although I think it could have worked better on making that come a little sooner, but it just felt loose. It just didn't. I didn't know what it wanted to say. Like, what was the message of this movie or what it wanted to be. So I didn't like it. But at the same time, I think that it was well made enough that it deserves an audience. I think it will find an audience. And then you let me know what you think, Pete, because I have a theory about Mel
Yeah,
Gibson. That this is a movie
yeah,
that could bring Mel Gibson back to like the masses, because he's been out of it ever since he went on his drunken,
yeah.
anti-Semitic tirade. A movie like this, I think it can find a big enough audience where, because I know he's already talking about Lethal Weapon 5, where he can get back to the mainstream, because he plays this real fucked up character, but you still get a little glimpse of that charismatic, likable guy that everybody loved for so many years until you realize he was an anti-Semitic piece of shit.
Yeah,
So,
and a
uh,
misogynist and a Jew.
yes, so I think this is a movie that, although it didn't work for me, I can feel like I can understand why somebody would like it, why it could find an audience. So it might be a good movie for him. Like this movie might actually kind of help him.
I don't
Um,
know. I don't know. I think the weird thing where Mel Gibson is at now is that he is actually a really talented director, and
yes,
people don't mind seeing him behind the camera, but I don't think anybody really wants to see him on the screen. It's like stay behind the camera because Hacksaw Ridge that got a lot of love.
it
Um,
did, but that was his first got a lot of love movie in a long time.
yeah,
So even behind the camera, he's had to kind of work his way up. And I don't know, man. People are forgiving for whatever reason. I think when enough time passes, like think of what's his name, Tony Stark.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Robert. He was done, and he didn't even do anything like.
Yeah, well, he didn't do
Uh,
anything really that bad. All he did was like film his sex, really. Or no, that
yeah,
was
no,
Rob Lowe. That was Rob
no,
Lowe. Robert
no. I'm
Downey
saying
is the
he was just
coke
a drug
addict.
addict. He was a drug addict. He was all
Yeah,
fucked up. But I'm saying even still, he was out of favor for a long time, even though he didn't do anything like racist or sexist or anti-Semitic or anything. But when it comes to Hollywood, you have an image to uphold. When you're not upholding that image, you just you lose that traction, because he was the boy next door that everybody loved. He's like everybody's best friend, and then you realize, okay, no, he's like snorting coke off from woman's tits. That's not
yeah,
the boy next door. So he fell out, but then eventually he worked his way back in, and then went big time with the Marvel universe. So I think Mel, he's got a chance. I think people have short memories or they're forgiving. I don't know what it is. I think he has a
well,
chance to get himself back
it's a
in.
fraternity. It's a fraternity, or I don't know. It's fraternity is like all male, so I guess that's not really gender inclusive. But I mean, it is like kind of a clandestine type family, and this is why you got to check out BoJack Horseman, man. They cover this extremely well, like about how quick Hollywood is to forgive scumbags. Like it
Mm.
doesn't matter what you do, like there's always a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. But in the case of Mel, I think people are pretty much tired of seeing his face. Like they'll watch movies directed by him, but they don't want to see him.
What was his last big movie? Let me see here. Mel Gibson movies. He hasn't had a big hit in a long time, from
No,
as
he
far
was
as I
in
can
the
remember.
Machete sequel. He was in the Machete sequel for Christ's sake. That
Really?
was
Oh, I love Machete though. Well, he's in Fatman, and then he's going to, according to Wiki, he's got a few movies lined up. For 2020, Boss Level, which I have no idea what that is, and Last Looks. Uh, Boss Level just looks like your average, like gangster shoot 'em up. And oh no, look at that! An upcoming science fiction action movie written and directed by Joe Carnahan, starring Frank Grillo, Mel Gibson, Michelle Yeoh, and Naomi Watts. I'll watch that. That's a good cast right there.
yeah.
Uh,
I say Michelle is looking pretty hot in season 2 of Discovery.
Oh, she's great. Oh, you got to episode 5 then. That's trippy as fuck, right? Where they go inside the mycelial network.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm actually on episode 7. I watched that today.
Oh God, yeah, it gets trippier and trippier. You were totally right. Like season 2 was really trippy, and then he's gonna be in Last Looks, an upcoming American British action thriller from a screenplay by us, starring Charlie Hunnam, Mel Gibson, Morena Baccarin. I like her. Dominic Monaghan, Jacobs. This looks like a smaller movie though, but yeah, his last big movie, Get the Gringo, The Beaver. I remember The Beaver got a little bit of traction, but didn't really do much. That was 2011. But he took a long break, man. Apocalypto, 2006 as director, and then 2010, The Edge of Darkness. So I think it was right around the time that he had his fallout between
Yeah,
those six in 2010. He
yeah.
was in
I'm
the
the hireable.
Expendables 3, and then Hacksaw Ridge was 2016.
Wow.
Wow, that
Wow.
was a long time
Yeah.
being out of the. But now I keep hearing that they're gonna do Lethal Weapon. So somehow, some way, like you said, it's the fraternity. They're kind of giving him a second chance, and he's getting. I think audiences also just forget unless you kill somebody or something. It's like yeah, people get drunk and say bullshit. Which I mean, it's not excusing his behavior, but like I don't give a shit. Because I'm like, when I watch a movie, I don't expect the people on the screen to be like wholesome, upstanding individuals. I actually expect that most of them are assholes off screen.
Yeah.
So unless somebody's like openly like racist, like raping, like Bill Cosby or obviously what's
Right.
his name Weinstein.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
somebody's like openly physically just like criminally bad, I really don't give a shit because. Well, you're someone who loves music and loves movies and has been around these types of crowds. And 99% of people that work with music, with movies, with literature, they're fucked up in some way or another.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting like my bar isn't high as far as human behavior. So I could give two shits, about Mel Gibson. Did he make a good
Yeah.
movie? Yeah, okay, then I'll watch it. Did he make a shitty movie? I
Yeah.
won't
Not
watch it.
everyone Keanu Reeves.
Exactly. Keanu was like, an angel sent down from the heavens.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I mean, it's always good, and obviously, I have more respect for those people that are like a Denzel Washington of the world, who are like, shit, the guy's hardcore on and off screen, you know. But excuse me, but not everybody's gonna be that level. So yeah, okay, whatever.
Okay.
So
But
go ahead.
he is still being haunted by this a bit because I remember you posted that review of his last movie, the one set in Puerto Rico, that was like, oh my God, this is a racist movie that glorifies police brutality. And
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
it it wasn't
Did you watch
really
it?
like, yeah, I did. I watched it and it wasn't
Yeah.
very good, but I didn't find it racist and I didn't find it glorified police brutality. I just thought it was a bad movie. But I think he's the kind of guy that is going to draw this extra criticism forever.
Could be, but I think it's just a little bit of like the very woke crowd is now
Yeah,
at the age where they're writing movie reviews. So like Rambo, it's like a Trump wet dream, because he went
right.
down in Mexico. So I don't pay attention to too many reviews that are coming from that angle of like this is racist because he's killing too many Mexicans. It's like, dude, it's a fucking Mexican cartel that kidnapped a bitch. What do you expect them to like kill? Rednecks from Alabama. Like, what do you expect them to kill? So
Yeah, and they came after him. They came after him.
exactly.
He lured them into his personal death trap that he'd been building for a rainy day, apparently.
Oh, I gotta rewatch that movie because I know there's an extended cut now, and I watched it on the cam version. I never watched a good version of it, but I dug it just for that ending. The last 40 minutes make that movie worth every laborious moment beforehand because it is a bit talky to start. It's the mature philosophical Stallone for about an hour. And then it's like, yeah, and I just happen to have been building a death trap for the last 30 years or however long since the last movie. Oh, man. Anyway, enough about Fat Man. Like I said, guys, I think it's not a terrible movie. Like, I saw it all the way through. I mean, there were about 30 minutes of it where I kind of just left it in the background and I don't feel I missed anything.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Hopefully it'll bring some joy. We do next week. Is next week December already? In December we'll do some holiday picks. And I do like
Oh,
me
yeah,
some
for
holiday
sure.
because I don't like holiday movies at all. So all the holiday movies that I do like have like a little darker edge to them. Speaking of which, there's one that Justin posted on Talking Films, which is like 22 different directors or something, 22 or 23 different
I saw
directors that made
that.
this
Yeah.
one movie. Yeah, I gotta watch that. I gotta watch that. So maybe I'll watch that tonight or tomorrow. I'll see what happens.
But it's
But
like 2.5 hours long, too.
I know, but if it's good, I'll watch 2.5 hours of like fucked up Christmas shit. I dig it. I'm not I don't like I'm not a holiday person in general, but especially like real sappy Christmas stuff. I'll give It's a Wonderful Life its due though. That movie is fucking
That's an
beautiful.
amazing movie.
Yes,
Capper's a
yes,
god.
yes. That one. That's about it though. I can't think like of another. Like I don't think I've even watched that one that everybody loved when I was a kid about the kid with the BB gun who shoots the
Oh,
kibaya
Christmas Story. That's
at
that's actually
Christmas.
kind of cute. I still like that. And I don't like any kids movies that I liked when I was a kid. Like I liked E.T. when I was a kid.
Oh, see, I
And
don't like ET.
as an adult, I can't get into E.T. at all. As a kid, I
Yeah.
loved it. Now, no.
No, ET scared the
But
shit out of
a
me. But
Christmas
then
Story, I can still get into.
maybe I'll watch it one day. But it's just never something that was like, oh, I gotta watch this. Like my favorite Christmas movies were Scrooged, Batman. Batman Returns because that came out on
Right.
Christmas, like a real Christmas. I got actually a list of like my top 10 Christmas movies. So maybe I'll pop it out because I got it on my blog. It's my unchristmassy Christmassy list. A Nightmare Before Christmas, shit like that is what gets
That's
me
good. Yeah.
in the spirit and for the holidays. But anyway, now let's talk Revenge from
Yeah.
2017. Who's this girl, by the way? Because she's real cute.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about the movie. I saw one review that they described her as a peach, and she's so adorable. Like she just exudes sex and cuteness at the same time. But I have no idea what her name is.
I will
Um,
find
this,
out right now.
this
In
is a
her
French
name.
movie, but she's
Yeah, it's a
American.
French. Starring Matilda Lutz. That's her name.
Okay.
As Jen. Matilda Lutz as
As
Jen.
Jen, yes, poor Jen goes through a pretty
Oh,
rough
she's
time.
got she's got the little star here. I was gonna say her name is Jen, but it reminded me of Gem. There was a cartoon that was out like in the early '90s, and Gem had a star earring. I don't know if there's any connection with that, but anyway. But go ahead.
Yeah, so this falls into the category of rape revenge films, which is,
So
yeah, not really my thing. I'm a bit of an old fashioned guy in that respect, that I think, raping women is just wrong. The target audience of this movie, though, I don't think it's going for like people who think raping women is okay, because obviously, like, you're not going to be able to address those people.
yeah,
It's going more for the she was asking for it type, which unfortunately, if you spend any amount of time on social media, you do see a lot of people say shit like that, like, well, she was drunk, she was flirting, blah blah blah. And it's really well done. Like, it's not one of those like traumatizing things where you're just seeing like a woman get brutalized. Um,
yeah,
what happens to her mostly off screen, And then the rest of the story is her getting payback. So
Mm.
here's the story and here's the setup. Basically, she is a whore. She's fucking this married French guy. She's American, and she's fucking this married French guy because he's rich. That's basically the only reason she's with him. And as you can see, she's adorable. She walks around wearing like football T-shirts and her panties, and she's all flirty and cute. And they're at this retreat. I think it's in France. I don't know if they ever actually say where it is, but they're at
Mm.
this private cabin in the middle of nowhere. And two of his buddies show up for a hunting trip that he's forgotten about. So he goes out to get some supplies. And, well, actually, before we get to this point, previously they all have a party together the night that the hunting buddies show up. And she's getting drunk and she's dirty dancing and she's flirting with the guys. And they're getting all hot and bothered. Next day, boyfriend leaves to go get supplies. She's left alone with these two guys, and one of them rapes her.
Mm.
And when the boyfriend comes back and she tells him what happened, he kind of blames her, like, "Well, you were fucking flirting with them. You were drunk. You kind of asked for it, that kind of thing." So she's like, "Fuck you, asshole. Just take me home." And I can't believe it, but this is the second time I've reviewed a movie on our show where a chick gets pushed off a cliff. This is exactly what happened in that lesbian movie. Um, he takes her out to talk to her, try and reason to her. He's like, "Yeah, I'm calling a helicopter. It's going to be here for you." And then he just pushes her off a fucking cliff. And to make matters worse, she falls like 40 meters and gets impaled on a tree, which
God
is
damn.
where the movie loses some of its credibility because at this point she's dead, man. Like, she's done. What she manages to do is to get a hold of her lighter and she burns the tree, setting herself free. After which she's fucking
What?
Rambo. Like, it's like nothing happened to her. She becomes like supreme stalker, seeker of vengeance. Every once in a while, she lets out a little whimper to let you know, yes, she's in pain. She did get impaled on a tree, but she's more or less functional.
That's cool though. I mean, you see that happen to dudes for the last 100 years in movies, you know.
No, the
So,
Revenant. The Revenant.
oh my God, don't even mention that movie. Can't stand that movie. Oh my God. But yes, yes. The rape revenge movies, you know, it's interesting genre because you do there's again, speaking of fine lines, you know, what's the fine line between exploitation and actually uh kind of having a woman have payback for one of the possibly, I imagine, the worst thing that could ever happen to a woman. So I can dig it. I can dig stuff like that. There's a great movie called The Accused
Yes,
uh,
Jodie
with
Foster.
Jodie Foster, which kind of goes in the same theme, right? Because they were like, she was asking for it. She was dancing all sexy, and we raped her. And there's a lot of guys that still think that. Remember here in Brazil, Bolsonaro, when he told that congresswoman
Yeah, you're too
that,
ugly to
yes,
rape.
I wouldn't rape you because you're too ugly.
He's classy
Although,
villain.
in his defense, and it's hard to come to his defense, but in his defense, she did call him a rapist first, because the
Right.
whole story is that she was defending a rapist, you know, and she was like, "Oh, he should go home. He shouldn't be locked up because he was a minor." So he was like, "You know, you're a crazy bitch," and then she called him a rapist, and then he gave her that famous
Yeah.
line, which, "I
Stuck
wouldn't rape you because you're too ugly."
it.
Oh man, we shouldn't be laughing at that. But anyway, um, I will. Speaking of quick picks, guys, I will recommend the movie, and I think you would love this one, Pete. It's a very underground movie called She Kills. It's got an 8,000 estimated budget, an $8,000 estimated budget. And She Kills. I'll just read this nice little synopsis that I found online. Sadie's life is destroyed when a vicious gang called the Touchers target her for their sadistic fantasies after witnessing her sexy but innocent naked body frolicking in a nearby field. On her wedding night, they attack her and her husband Edward, brutalizing both of them. But during the attack, the virgin bride discovers a dangerous secret about her body. She is cursed with the legendary fire crotch, a condition where Satan I know it's too much. A condition where Satan has laid claim to her vagina. After visiting her fortune teller friend Casparella, a space exorcism is attempted on her meat flaps, but it only ends up unlocking secret hidden powers inside her. Her hatchet wound becomes lethal, her most deadly weapon in her thirst for revenge against the Touchers, in her fight against lustful men everywhere. Dude, this is a great movie. Absolutely
Okay,
great movie.
yeah, I'm sold.
You gotta watch it. Shout out to our friend Scott because he's the one that tipped me off to this movie. Real low budget, but real, kind of love letter to the grindhouse exploitation pictures of the 1970s, and definitely worth a watch. She killed. But yeah, that genre can be fine line, but I might check this one out. And I like her earrings. Again, reminds me of Gem for any 90s kids that watched that cartoon. You're probably gay if you did, or a girl. But anyway, speaking of more exploitation, my God, Pete, before you talk about this movie, I started watching it last night, but then I got distracted by what I would call a shower of dicks, but you wouldn't know exactly what that is. But let's just picture that, a shower of dicks. So then I got distracted, couldn't finish it, and then I was watching it a little bit today. I had a really busy day today. And so far, I'm only 20 minutes in, and I'm in love with this movie. And it harkens back to a conversation we were having again with our buddy Justin. I wish he was on to talk to us. On Talking Films about Quentin Tarantino. And you
Yeah,
said exactly how I feel, which is I can't not say he's a great director. He is. He's good at what he's done. He's
I
not
think
even
he's a
good.
great writer. He's not a great director. He
Well, he's a
writes
great,
great screenplays,
but he's
but
a great,
his
but he's an
direction,
artist.
is just like I'm taking like somebody else's moves, like line for line. Like all
Mm-hmm.
directors are influenced by other people. Like Martin Scorsese had other influences,
Of
but
course.
there's still like a Scorsese style. The
Yes.
Tarantino style is like, okay, today I'm going to imitate this director move for move. His screenplays are good. I like him as a writer. As a director, not so much.
Yeah. Well, I think they go hand in hand. So, because even if he's doing a copy version, you gotta have some talent to be able to do it at the level that he does, and he does. When I watch his movie, I like the shots, I like the way he's moving the camera, I like, and he's gotten better as he's gotten older. But it's exactly how I feel. The same way you feel is how I feel. Is that he's great at what he does, but I don't feel like this soul coming out of Tarantino that I can feel when I watch a Scorsese movie, like you just mentioned. Like I watch a Scorsese movie and I feel the soul of this man, in some way, shape, or form. I watch even a Spike Lee movie, or I'm watching a lot of the. We're both watching the Kubrick movies. You feel the soul of these directors bleeding through the camera. Can't say the same about Tarantino, except for, and it's funny, we both agree on this. Jackie Brown. I think Jackie Brown is his most soulful movie,
Yeah,
where you really feel these characters go a little bit beyond just caricatures
yeah,
and archetypes. But that only goes back to say you watch this movie, and that this is a perfect movie to show to a Quentin Tarantino fan and say, look, this is Tarantino. This is what he did. He worked in a fucking video store and he watched every fucking movie you've never heard of and just copied it shot by shot, basically, and copied the style. Just that this one, for 15, 20 minutes, I'm feeling the soul of these women. I only got to the part, I stopped at the part where they're in the desert and the guy shows up.
Right.
in the car. So I don't spoil anything for me in your review, but please talk about
Oh,
it.
that's gonna
I'm
be
loving it so
difficult.
far. Oh, don't spoil it all. I mean, you can give me a few things, but also imagine there's a lot of people that probably haven't seen this movie, so you got to sell it without spoiling it completely. Uh oh, did we lose
Okay.
Pete? Oh, no, he's there. It's a difficult task. In some hot Italian
Uh,
mamas. I don't know if they're
all
really
right.
Italian at all.
All right. Well, yeah. All right. Well, that's going to be difficult. Actually directed by Russ Mayer, um, who was pretty well known for directing movies with women with giant, large breasts,
Yes.
which I think is a noble calling. Although
Oh, I think we lost Pete.
reviewed a movie on
Oh no,
our
he's back. He's back.
podcast.
He's back. He's back.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So yes, Russ Mayer was mostly known for directing movies with women who have large breasts. And this is actually the second I've reviewed a movie on our show where I have to say the breasts aren't really that big. They're okay. They're okay, but huge. Um, the thing is, though, these women are supposed to exude sex, and they do. Um, it's supposed to be tantalizing. It's supposed to be in your face in a really campy way, and it is. And since I can't tell the story, I will simply say it's about three Las Vegas, I believe, go-go dancers on a crime spree.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about women being liberated at the same time too. It's girls in an era where chauvinism was much more prevalent than it is today, and just being free and being bad, living against stereotypes.
Yes, that's what I felt from it. I mean, I know it's definitely classified as exploitation, but I didn't feel it completely. Like I felt more on your side because this is came out, by the way, guys, in 1966. You can see there on the screen, and yeah, you got to kind of understand what the times were different. Like being sexually liberated to nowadays, I think it's to a point where uh, women are classified as sluts and blah blah blah. Which, by the way, I think is bullshit because dudes can fuck whoever they want, but if a woman does it, they're slutty. But at this time, yeah, to show breasts, and they're not small breasts either, but they're quite
They're not
attractive
that
these women.
big, though, really.
Yes, they're big for American standards though in 1966. Come on.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, and so you gotta kind of think of the times. We have this discussion sometimes in the Star Trek groups because some folks think that Star Trek is sexist, right? The original series I'm talking about with Captain Kirk and Spock, 1960, actually 66 too, if I'm not mistaken. Um, And what folks don't understand or fail to understand is that for a woman to wear a mini skirt at that time was considered liberating. It was like it was a positive. Like women wanted to do this to show that I'm a liberated woman who can show my body. It doesn't mean that you're gonna fuck me. So when they're out in the future in the 22nd or whatever century, and you got Ahura being a very capable comms officer in a mini skirt, it's not because well she was hot too, but it's not just because she was hot that she was wearing a mini skirt. It's because for women in the future, that would be how they would be. They would be like, yeah, I can wear a mini skirt to work, and show my sexuality, but also be really good at my job. So you got to kind of look at stuff like that through a different lens than today's lens.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and because I don't want to, I've been trying to think of how I can actually sell this movie without giving away spoilers. And actually, Roger Ebert has a really nice review that I pulled up This is actually, it's on RogerEbert.com, but this was actually written by Roger Ebert, who also infamously wrote the screenplay for Beyond the Valley of the
Of the
Dolls.
dolls,
So
yes.
he knows his trash.
Mm-hmm.
And in one paragraph here, he says, besides, why not a review from someone who has a conflict of interest? Mayer's fans are vociferously partisan. And here is the movie that director John Waters called Beyond a Doubt the best movie ever made. It is possibly better than any film that will be made in the future. Completing the circle, Stephen Holden, in his recent review in the New York Times, credited Mayer with having invented John Waters, not to mention Madonna. So there you go. Like,
That's crazy that you mentioned Madonna because I don't know if you're a big Madonna fan, but she has a great song called "What It's Like for a Girl." In fact, it got banned from MTV because of the video. And I'll send you this video, man. I don't know I know you're not a huge Madonna fan, but at least watch this video and tell me it's not shot for shot inspiration from this movie. Because it's the storyline of the video is that she gets in the car, she's driving around, she picks up this old lady, she's like 80 some at this nursing home, and the both of them go on this crime spree. It's almost like Baby Yoda, the old lady. She's just kind of sitting there, as Madonna's crashing into cars, beating up police officers. And it got banned from MTV because it was too violent for the time, but whatever.
oh, wow.
But it's she had to have seen this movie because like it's the main girl, the one in the black. I forgot her name now. I think the Varla.
Santana.
Yeah,
Tourist
Arturo
Santana.
Santana. Yeah, that plays Varla. He's like the leader of the gang, and I'm like, yo, this is Madonna watched this movie and just put it in this video because it's very, very similar.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that was a nice thing about it is that like the three women, they all had their like distinct personalities. Like
mm-hmm,
the blonde chick, like she's not really down with all this bad shit they're doing. Like she actually kind of feels some remorse.
mm-hmm.
But Santana, she's like pure evil.
Yes, I loved her. No, wonderful, wonderful. I can't wait. Like as soon as we're done the podcast, I'm gonna watch the rest of this movie. But I fell in love with it so far. I've only, like I said, let me see how far I'm into it. Because it's on YouTube, by the way, guys. That's the good news. It's on YouTube. I'm 9 minutes and 39 seconds into it, so I'm right at the beginning. Um, but yes, these dangerous, and I love that voiceover at the beginning, like these type of women may be everywhere, like the kind
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
serious,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm like,
There-
oh,
there-
this is a great movie, and if John Waters says it's the greatest, you gotta believe John Waters because he's a great director. I love John
yeah,
Waters.
yeah, he is. Um,
Um,
yeah,
cool.
no, there's a
I'm going.
great paragraph here in Ebert's review that says, Mayer's extraordinary women are, of course, fascinating to those with breast fetishes. But look a little longer, and you will notice that the breasts are not always presented as centers of desire.
Mm, cool. And I'm sure Ebert had a bit of a breast fetish himself. Uh,
Oh,
yes. We miss Roger Ebert, man.
he loved the softcore shit, and he loved trash. God bless the
I
man.
know. God bless him. I mean, sometimes you disagree with a few of his reviews, but the guy had passion. And that's the thing that I loved most about him, what you just said. He was willing to give the quote unquote Oscar movies their props and then the trash their props too,
Yeah,
Uh, because that's what the fun part of watching movies is. I don't want to watch somebody acting every single time that I turn on something or someone directing. Sometimes I just want to pop something in that's like She Kills, and it's
yeah,
absolute trash, but it's absolute fun.
yeah,
Um, so I'll definitely check this out. And from what I gathered, it's just these girls out on the tear, and a very forward movie for its time. And again, if any kind of snowflakey people are out there listening, which I doubt, because if you've listened to us enough, you've probably been offended and not listening anymore. But you guys, you gotta just remember the times were different, and what was considered female liberation back then maybe is not what we consider female liberation now. But it took these women, and these type of directors and writers to be able to push the envelope a little bit. But you got to put everything in context. Like, well, we're in the holiday season. Everybody remember the controversy a couple years back, and it pops up every year about that song. It's cold outside. Baby, don't go. It's cold out there. And, they're like, oh, this is a rapey song. She wants to go home and he won't let her and blah, 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 blah. And then you read up on the history
Yes,
of that
yes,
song, and it's a total female liberation song. Because in the 1940s, a woman wasn't allowed to stay home at some stranger's house by herself. So
right.
the fact that she's having this conversation in her mind about, hey, maybe I just want to stay at this guy's house, get drunk and fuck, like that's as feminist as you can get in the 1930s, 1940s. So you can't put your 2020 woke goggles on and say, oh, it's a rapey song. It isn't. It's about a bitch that wants to get laid and she's just not sure if later she's going to be called a slut or not if she does. It's a beautiful song, and I don't even like Christmas songs. But anyway, let's move on to a shitty movie, and then we'll close out the night, which is Jiu Jitsu. Which this is like I just said, like sometimes you just want to watch a trash movie, but there's limits, and this definitely goes beyond. And not even Nicolas Cage showing up about 40 minutes in saves this movie, even though he does make it more bearable. Um, the plot line. Let me see if I can. I'm just going to try to Wikipedia this plot line because from what I recall, speaking of cliff, it starts with a guy falling off of a cliff and he hits his head and he's like, there's these things being shot at him. So he hits his head and he can't remember shit and he gets picked up by some Bernese people that kind of this lady stitches him up and takes him to the army. Oh, it's based on a comic book. I was wondering why there were like little comic book, like there were actually like slides from panels, comic book panels in the movie, but it didn't say at the beginning based on a comic book. So anyway, Wikipedia has nothing on this movie, no plot, no anything. That's great. But the so this main character, he gets taken to the army. So the army tries to help him, and then these dudes show up and rescue him. And there's this really badly choreographed fight. It's really badly choreographed, like slow motion bad. Like just I don't know. They couldn't even get that right. So then he gets taken with these dudes, but then they get attacked by some weird alien creature. The army tries to help him again, and then he falls into a hole, and Nicolas Cage is in this hole. And then Nicolas Cage is telling them that he's him, but I guess in the future, I don't know. It was really fucked up. Like at this point, I wasn't really trying to pay too close attention, but I did gather this much because they went into this cave and they had the exposition scene, and the exposition was this: every 6 years, there's a comet that passes by Earth. And this comet opens up a portal to this other dimension. And out of this dimension comes this creature who brought jujitsu to Earth. And he needs to fight this dude in order to, I don't know, it's like a tradition. He needs to fight him. And if he doesn't fight the dude, then this alien creature is just going to start killing everybody until he can just fight this guy. And that's where the movie, I mean, it had already lost me. But then what really lost me is like, Jiu-Jitsu, if I'm not mistaken, is like this Asian. Doesn't it come from China or Japan? And I'm like, why would this creature have given this dude? Because they said he gave you Jiu-Jitsu. I'm like, why would this alien give this white dude Jiu-Jitsu? Like, you'd think, he would have given it to some Asian guy, but I digress. And that's kind of where I stopped. So full disclosure, guys, even if the movie's terrible, I try to at least finish it before giving it a review. But this one, I just I was watching, and then I got distracted with some other stuff. I'll go back and watch the end of it. I got like another 30 minutes to watch of it, but I just felt like I doubt it's going to get any better than it is up to this point, even with Nicolas Cage, who does salvage it because he's just a wacky motherfucker. And it's funny to see Nicolas Cage doing like some really bad kung fu. And that's it. I mean, I've seen episodes of like the 1990s Power Rangers that had better choreographed fights. Like that's what took me out of it to begin. Was like, okay, the acting's kind of bad, the premise is kind of bad. It's sort of like a pseudo predator vibe to it. Uh, but at least I'm gonna see some cool fights. And not even that. It was like really, really bad, badly choreographed fights. It some reviews here. Speaking of Roger Ebert, but this is Simon Andrews. Gave it 1.5 stars. I'm trying to get some code with a stellar cast. Oh no, somebody liked it. With a stellar cast, non-stop fights, and stylish direction, this proves to be an enjoyable throwback that will please genre fans. I don't know who wrote that. They must have paid him a lot. Fortress of Solitude praised the film. I don't know. They must have paid him, but it does have some good cinematography. I will say that much. Some people gave while it neglects to include any jujitsu. That's another thing. There's no jujitsu in the movie. It does give viewers plenty of action beats and a few fun thrills. Not really. And we got negative review here called an adult mess of a film that attempts to scratch a gonzo action itch that would be better served by hitting up a playlist of stunt demo reels on YouTube. Jiu-Jitsu feels like a deeply 2020 movie in that it is a barrage of what the fuck choices that hit you without mercy until you either give in and go with the flow or just go mad. Or hey, maybe both. I just couldn't ride with it at the end. So I don't know. I wish I could give it a thumbs up and say, "Hey guys, this is just a really cheesy, like a machete type movie that's like bloody and violent, and even though it's not like great acting or anything, but you'll enjoy it." But I can't say that,
Yeah,
and that's
that's
the
the thing.
courage.
It doesn't look like jujitsu. It looks like kung fu to me.
Yes, it looks it kind of plays out a lot more like kung fu or just traditional karate. There's no jujitsu in the movie, and that creature that's being kicked right there, that's apparently the creature that needs to fight this white guy that he gave jujitsu to, which doesn't make sense. Like I said, because jujitsu, isn't it jujitsu from fucking China
No, it's from Japan actually,
or
but the
Japan?
Brazilians actually perfected it. Like Brazilian jiu-jitsu is considered like the superior form compared to Japanese.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was developed in the 1920s. Yes, but in either case, there's no fucking reason why this white dude is getting Jiu-Jitsu like that. Like, unless I'm missing something. Like an alien comes across the universe to give Jiu-Jitsu to fucking Nicolas Cage and this other dude. I'm like, what? And there's Asian characters in the movies. I don't get why they couldn't have gotten the Jiu-Jitsu instead. So whatever. But
Yeah, yeah,
you won't
good
like
for
it.
Nick Cage for continuing on his current B movie career path. Anyway,
Yeah, and what is up with Nick Cage? Like, what did he do that got him kind of kicked out of Hollywood? Is it just because
no,
he's a
what
wacky
happened to him
motherfucker, or
is
is
he
it a
went
personal
bankrupt.
choice?
I,
What
I think he
happened?
went bankrupt.
Well, but how was he
He,
like fucking hookers? Like, what
he
happened?
lost like everything. He was like, yeah, I don't know. Like he spent all his money and he went broke, and he just had to take pretty much any role he could get.
How Nicolas Cage once blew his entire $150 million. Oh, shit. Nicolas Cage blew $150 million on a dinosaur skull, pygmy heads, and two European castles. Oh, shit. Actor Nicolas Cage was once the top earner in Hollywood, worth around $150 million. but he didn't hold on to the fortune for so long. He squandered it in a string of expensive and often eccentric purchases, eventually facing foreclosure on several properties. So he had like 15 homes at one point, but he bought a series of bizarre items, including a 9-foot tall burial tomb, an octopus, shrunken pygmy heads, a $150,000 Superman comic, and a 70 million year old dinosaur skull, which he later had to return to the Mongolian government. What? What really put Cage in the red financially weren't the eccentric items, however, but his overstuffed real estate portfolio. What is an octopus? $80? You're not going to go into dire straits buying an octopus, he told the New York Times during a recent interview. Cage went through a period where all he was doing was meditating 3 times a day and reading books on philosophy. And so he started looking for the places that he read about, and then he started to buy castles. He bought one for 10 million, another one for 2.3 million. So that's crazy. I'm not going to read the whole article. It's on CNBC.com. But that's weird. See, I didn't know all that. I thought that somehow he just did some shitty stuff. But then what is he able to get more? He wasn't able to get any more good roles. They just kind of like said, "Oh, you went broke, so you can't get good roles anymore," or did he just choose bad ones? That's weird. But yeah, he's been doing a lot of these B movies. But people seem to really like him though. I
Oh,
haven't seen many of. I think this is the first one that I've seen uh, of his new life phase. But I know people like that movie Mandy,
yeah,
and
Mandy is good. The parents one was also actually really good. Actually, I enjoyed that.
let me see. There you go. Kathleen Turner wrote in her 2008 memoir that Cage had stolen a Chihuahua and is arrested twice for drunken driving while they filmed Peggy Sue Got Married. Uh, oh no, but he won a libel case against her. Cage was arrested in New Orleans French Quarter, 2011, for suspicions of domestic abuse battery, disturbing the peace and public intoxication. So I think he just got himself into some shit too. It couldn't have just been the money, because you don't just go out of favor with Hollywood like that. And he's kind of like, isn't he from a family? He's like from a powerful,
He's Francis Ford Coppola's nephew.
yeah. So you just don't go out a style um, for no reason. I think it's just he started acting up too. I think it was a mixture of both that and this. Let me see his movies here. Well, he's got a bunch of movies. He's got a bunch coming out. He's got The Croods, A New Age is coming out. Okay. Pig, Willy's Wonderland, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. But before that, I can't think of any here. I've seen The Color Out Space, I know people seem to like.
The Color Out of Space was actually pretty good. Yeah, another B horror movie.
Teen Titans Go, the movie? Well, Spider Man. He was in Spider Man? Oh, he was fucking Peter Parker in Spider Man Into the Spider Verse? I didn't know that. I love that movie. Have you seen Into the Spider Verse?
I have not actually.
Oh my god, that's such a good fucking movie. Oh, you're a big Marvel fan. You would love that one. It's a great movie. A lot of people agree that it's probably the best Spider-Man movie, and I say so. Even though I do like Part One with Tobey Maguire a lot. Um, yeah, but
Yeah,
since I can't think of any movie before that. Ghost Rider: The Spirit of Vengeance, 2011. He's been in a lot of bad movies, man. 2007, I like National Treasure. But anyway, well, I hope Nick Cage can find his way at some point. This movie is definitely not it. But if you got a paid check, good for him. And that's about it,
yeah,
guys. I'm just going to give you just a quick yes or no for these, and then we'll do the same. But Batman, like I said, a terrible movie. I guess it'll find its audience. It'll do it for me. And Jiu Jitsu Terrible movie. There's no redeeming quality for this movie. Even the fights were bad. So definitely thumbs down. And what about Revenge and Pussycat, Pete?
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend Revenge if you're someone like myself who's like put off by like overly rapey movies. This one does it well. It doesn't like throw the rape in your face. It just throws the revenge in your face. And she's a cool protagonist. Like, yeah, she's a whore, but the thing is like the message here is she's not asking for it, man. And whores are tough, and she gives it back to them pretty good.
This is good. And Pussycat just looks like the movie that I need to finish watching because it's
Yeah,
like
it's
fucking
an
awful.
essential watching, I think, if you're a cinephile. I can't believe the only reason I watched this actually is because I have my computer playing random songs, and the Cramps actually do a cover of the theme song. And I heard that. I was like, you know what? Like, you could use an extra movie to watch tonight. And I just downloaded it. Of course, there's a million seaters, so it came down super fast. Watched it right away, and yeah, essential viewing. Essential viewing.
Yeah, we forgot to mention the music. It's really great music. The soundtrack, or not the soundtrack, the score is really good. Gets you really into the movie from scene one. And like I said, if you're not big on downloading shit, it's on YouTube, guys. Just put the title of the movie and you can watch it on YouTube. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. And it's got 100,000 views. Okay, it was posted in 2015. So, all right, y'all, the time has come for us to say goodnight and go back to our shitty lives. Bye bye, everybody.
All right, cheers, people. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Oh, yes, thank you always for listening. I'm not sure I said that at the beginning, but like and subscribe. Adios.